Recently, many armies have been feeling heartbroken and deeply frustrated, especially because of the endless behavior of certain Jikook shippers who keep harassing Jimin for no valid reason. It's painful to witness how some people refuse to stop their habit of throwing hate simply because Jimin and Jungkook have grown closer. For many, that closeness is something beautiful, natural, and undeniably real. Yet for others, it becomes an excuse to twist every gesture, every smile, and every shared moment into something ugly. Their favorite argument is always the same: that everything Jimin and Jungkook share is nothing but fan service, a performance meant to please fans. But here's the irony. When Taeyong does something similar with Jungkook, those same people suddenly change their tone. They call it pure, authentic, and real friendship. This double standard has become a pattern, a way of denying the obvious simply because it doesn't fit their narrative. Every time there's an update about Jungkook or Taeyong, the same group of people tries to connect dots that don't exist. They exaggerate gestures, twist words, and take moments out of context, desperately turning every small interaction into proof of a fantasy relationship. The irony becomes even more painful when those very same people immediately attack Jimin the moment something sweet or intimate happens between him and Jungkook. Every detail becomes ammunition for hate. And when they run out of reasons, they simply make things up, editing videos, manipulating photos, even using AI to fabricate fake scenes, all to distort reality and discredit the bond between Jimin and Jungkook. It's shocking how far some will go just to keep a false narrative alive. Instead of celebrating their idol's success or happiness, they pour energy into feeding a conflict that reflects only their own bitterness. Some even go as far as creating fake images to show Jimin with women, as if that somehow erases everything he shares with Jungkook. Actions like these are not only disrespectful but reveal an almost desperate refusal to accept what has been obvious for years. The desire to preserve the Jikook fantasy has turned into a kind of feudal war, an exhausting, delusional struggle against reality. Because every word, every look, every simple touch between Jimin and Jungkook speaks louder than any rumor. No amount of editing, lies, or manipulation can change what people have seen for years. The truth doesn't need defending, it simply exists. Jikook is real. Whether some like it or not, that's a fact. This whole debate resurfaced recently after Jimin's latest live broadcast. Once again, rumors flooded social media, out of context, exaggerated, and in many cases completely fabricated. Some Jikook fans even went as far as generating fake evidence with AI, claiming that Jimin and Jungkook are no longer close. But ask yourself, why do these stories keep coming back? Why do they always reappear whenever Jikook naturally shows signs of connection or mutual care? The answer is simple: insecurity. These people can't stand that Jimin and Jungkook don't fit into the boxes they've built for them. They want to dictate how they should act, when they should appear together, and how affectionate they should be. They complain when Jikook seem distant, yet attack them mercilessly when they show closeness. They want control over something that isn't theirs to control. But Jimin and Jungkook aren't fictional characters on a screen. They're real human beings with real lives, real friends, and the right to live as they please. Just because we don't see them together all the time doesn't mean something bad has happened. Sometimes Jungkook appears alone in a live stream, smiling, singing, talking softly to fans. Other times, Jimin is seen hanging out with Namjoon or other members. But even then, there will always be people shouting that Jikook is over, that it was never real, or that it was just fan service. Those people forget one essential truth. Jikook live in a conservative society where being different still invites judgment, where loving freely isn't always safe. They face pressures most people can't even imagine. And yet they remain brave. They remain themselves. Their bond continues to grow quietly, far from the public eye, away from the noise. Sometimes silence speaks volumes if only you know how to listen. The absence of public moments doesn't mean the absence of love. The strongest relationships are often the ones that protect themselves from exposure, the ones that don't need to prove anything to anyone. Jimin never promised daily updates about his relationship with Jungkook, and Jungkook doesn't owe anyone proof of their closeness. Love isn't validated by likes, cameras, or comments. It's lived quietly and sincerely between two souls who understand each other without needing to explain. This story isn't meant to argue or convince anyone. It's meant to remind people that behind every smile, every look, and every silence are two human beings who deserve respect. Jimin and Jungkook aren't fictional characters or a story written for entertainment. Their connection, whatever its name or form, exists because it's built on something real. Love, in any form, grows when it's given freedom, understanding, and patience. Maybe it's time for people to stop watching them with eyes full of judgment and start looking with their hearts. Because the truest kind of love doesn't need to be proven every day. It simply exists, protected, nurtured, and lived even when no one else can see it. In countless recorded moments, Jimin and Jungkook have shown a kind of closeness that seems to exist in their own private world. A world where words become unnecessary and glances say everything. There's something about the way they move that doesn't need explanation. Their bodies react instinctively as if connected by an invisible thread. When one leans in, the other follows. When one smiles, the other immediately understands why. There's no script, no rehearsal, just a natural rhythm and a quiet understanding that feels almost sacred. Even when surrounded by noise, flashes from cameras, cheers from fans, they often seem wrapped in their own bubble where time slows down and only the two of them exist. For a few seconds, the world fades and it's just Jimin and Jungkook breathing the same moment. And yet, in a society still chained to conservative traditions, such closeness is an act of courage. Being different, showing affection, or even being misunderstood can become reasons for judgment. Homophobia isn't some distant idea. It's a shadow that lingers over every step, every look, every rumor meant to invalidate what people don't understand. But despite that, they remain true to themselves. Their quiet bond becomes a form of resistance, a symbol of authenticity in an industry built on appearances. Behind every small gesture lies a story untold, a struggle to remain genuine in a world that often punishes sincerity. Every day they balance the weight of public life with the need to protect their truth. And yet their connection grows stronger, more unshakable, untouched by noise or lies. You don't need public statements or grand gestures to see it. Sometimes it's enough to notice how Jungkook's eyes soften when he looks at Jimin, or how Jimin instinctively turns toward Jungkook in a crowd. There's something in their gazes that breaks every scripted boundary. It's not just affection but understanding, respect, and something deeply human that cannot be faked. When Jimin looks at Jungkook, there's tenderness, quiet and unspoken. And when Jungkook responds with that familiar calm smile, the entire atmosphere shifts, warmer, more intimate, as if the rest of the world ceases to matter. Those seconds feel eternal, silently recorded in the hearts of those who see beyond the surface. Because Jikook doesn't need words to communicate. They speak through distance, through the light brush of a hand, through movements so perfectly synchronized that they whisper, "I understand you," without sound. In every performance, in every interview, there are subtle moments that might escape casual viewers. But for those who truly observe, they are signs of deep connection. Whether cameras are rolling or thousands of people are watching, they remain themselves, with the same natural ease, the same quiet truth. And in a world obsessed with appearances, that kind of authenticity is rare. Because when something is real, it doesn't need to be explained. Jimin and Jungkook's connection isn't built on spectacle. It's built on truth, on shared silence, on the comfort of simply existing together. And that truth, no matter how many people try to deny it, shines brighter than any rumor. Because love, real love, doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply breathes.